Let's hit the fast break on Big East Shootaround from New York City. It's getting warmer. Can you tell by the polos?
I like it. A little off-season summer look here in the Big East Shootaround studios.
Jay Alter, John Fanta, we've got you covered here as the NBA Combine. It's next week, folks. We're going to have you covered with complete draft coverage. You know it's over in Brooklyn, so we'll be there in June. But first, we've got the Combine coming up.
Well, and all eyes are on the Big East guys that will get an opportunity to state their case at the Combine. And you know what? All 4 Villanova Wildcats that put their name into the draft will be at the Combine. An impressive feat for those 4 guys. And then Kyrie Thomas of Creighton.
Really intrigued to see Kyrie Thomas as this process progresses towards the NBA draft. And for Thomas, we know that he's an elite defender, a Swiss Army knife that can guard just about anybody on the floor. But he has evolved his offensive game. How much will we see that as the run to the draft builds? Has he built up that jumper? Has he progressed in attacking? I think that those are the things that he was looking to work on with his trainers.
Well, when you look at Kyrie Thomas, he's a guy who's going to put up big numbers at the Combine, I think. You think about his vertical. You think about his length. These are things that NBA teams look for. And, I mean, he went into the NBA draft without an agent, so he can still come back to school, much like Dante DiVincenzo and Amari Spellman. Those 3 guys, they will get a really good evaluation after this week, and then they'll be able to determine whether they will be back in the Big East a year from now or whether they're going to take their talents to the NBA.
Jay Wright has said it. His plans are, because they need to be, that these 4 Villanova guys in DiVincenzo, Bridges, Spellman, and Brunson will be drafted. So with that in mind, reinforcements, well, there's one that's arrived this week.
Joe Cremo, a grad transfer out of Albany. In Villanova, they don't make splashes in the one-year market. They look for guys that can learn Villanova basketball development for a couple of years. So that speaks to Joe Cremo, and Jay Wright thinks, you know what? This guy can make an impact in just one season, learn how we're all about, and you know what? If Dante DiVincenzo moves on, he's a great fit for the Big Ragu.
An impact wing that can really score the ball, averaged nearly 18 points per game last season for Albany and was getting targeted all over the country. I think he made the right choice with the winningest program in America in the last half-decade. That's a safe choice.
Well, from his perspective, too, if Dante DiVincenzo comes back, it's not like he's going to ride the bench. Those guys can coexist. So, yes, there is uncertainty right now with DiVincenzo, Spellman, and Kyrie Thomas, but Cremo, cream of the crop, everybody wanted this grad transfer on a lot of people's boards, and they list this stuff. He was the #1 guy on the grad transfer market, and Villanova got him.
Let's turn to its finals week. And that means you are grinding. You're getting ready. I mean, you remember taking your final exams, right?
The worst week of the year.
You know what I could have used?
Some sleep?
No, a piece of pizza, for heaven's sake.
Well, that doesn't apply to finals week.
Well, I need some food, man.
That's true.
And in Milwaukee, that's what they were doing. Sleep. Forget that.
We'll take pizza anytime we can, especially if it's coming from Coach Wojo.
Marcus and I are going to deliver some pizza. We'll give them a little food as they're preparing for the final week of school and exams. Oh, wrong room. How you guys doing? Marcus and I came to bring this to you and wish. Marcus has been cooking all morning. Big time of year around here with finals approaching, and so to give them a little encouragement, pizza doesn't get much better than that.
Well said.
That Wisconsin cheese.
I love it. Coach Wojo with a couple of dad one-liners, too. Awesome stuff. I love guys that will go onto the campus, have some fun with the student athletes, and really cool to see there in the offseason.
There's a real pride factor for Marcus Howard and Sam Hauser, Sam's brother Joey, coming into Marquette. You can sense it on the campus, how well known they are across Marquette. As we take you into the fast break with a couple of past Villanova Wildcats getting back in training in Philly.
Well, you just mentioned the word pride. Jay Wright has a lot of pride in the Wildcats that came before this current group. Josh Hart, Chris Jenkins still got a smooth stroke in the corner. Love it.
These guys getting some work in, and Daryl Reynolds as well. I'll tell you what, it's the type of thing that you talk about Jay Wright and what he's done at Villanova, and that whole you play for the ones that came before you. Well, those guys that came before others, to think that they come back, they spend the amount of time they do at Villanova, it's telling about a program.
And that's the thing. With these 4 guys that are going into the Combine, even if they all do go to the NBA, they'll still be back around the program a ton. I mean, still in the gym.
Right.
Josh Hart, a year removed from the program, is still working out with these guys and gives so much back to Nova Nation. More than any other program, I think, not in the Big East, in the entire country, they're just so active with the current guys.
We've got ankle breakers coming up. You don't want to miss those. This guy's going to be at the altar with a breakdown of Mikal Bridges. But before we get to that, we talked about programs in the conference, teams reloading. That's a question for a lot of teams across the league heading into next year. We talked about that. And the Dogs as well with LaVall Jordan. We are now joined by Butler head coach LaVall Jordan to recap his first year. And, Coach, it's hard to believe it still actually hasn't been a full year that you've been back at Butler now as the head coach of the Dogs. When you think back on the first season, though, what comes to mind?
Memorable. Yeah, obviously the first time back in Hinkle Fieldhouse for me and this position was certainly something that I'll never forget. Just seeing a different version of Hinkle. Many more people in the stands, and the Big East in Hinkle Fieldhouse, and night in and night out. Seeing our seniors do what they did for the program and leaving the legacy that they left. So definitely a lot of great memories from this season.
For sure, heading back to the NCAA tournament, getting to the round of 32. And I got to imagine now, having said this, it's got to be refreshing to be able to sit down in the office and have a full off season to set the table, right?
Yeah, we're working toward that. Right now today's our last day of finals, so guys are finishing up with their class stuff, and we got guys getting ready to head out for the summer. And so we'll get a little bit of a break here as a staff before they return for a summer session. So our assistants deserve it, some vacation time, but we know they better stay on the phones recruiting, right?
Right, never stops, Coach. I look at what you have coming back next season, and how exciting is it for you to see the jump that Kamar Baldwin made into a sophomore campaign, and then the fact that we saw Aaron Thompson make the impact that he did as a freshman?
Yeah, no, it's really encouraging. I always say if you got a good backcourt and a good defense, then you can sleep on a soft pillow. And I think the fact that our backcourt, those 2 guys and Paul Jorgensen, got so many meaningful minutes under their belts. Paulie's first time around in the Big East. Aaron was a blessing to get him to be able to contribute as a freshman as much as he did. He's only going to get better, and Kamar took a huge jump last year, and certainly we expect another jump from him. And he was in a different role, and so that's definitely exciting. And those guys will lead us, defensively as well. So I think they showed that in the Arkansas game and in the Purdue game in the tournament, that they kind of captained our defense from the guard position.
Then you have a bit of a wrinkle into next season, and that you'll have somebody join you heading into conference play in Jordan Tucker, the Duke transfer. What does he bring to the table?
Yeah, Jordan's got size at his position. He's a legitimate 6'7", 6'6", 6'7" wing, and he really shoots the basketball well. And so, I think physically he'll be able to help us and compete. And, just watching him in practicing and workouts in the spring, he can put the ball in the basket. And so that'll be a part of his role as he grows into it. It'll take some time. He's still a freshman, really, because he hadn't, been out there. But he's a good teammate. He's a good kid, in the locker room. He fits in well. And so he's been a good addition for us.
You also announced the addition of Bryce Golden for next year in your recruiting class, 6'9" forward, Coach. What can we expect from him next year? Is this the type of guy that can step in and have a role, or what's your expectation?
Yeah, we signed two guys that I think will add to our athleticism and physicality in the front court. Bryce Golden and Marquise Hastings we signed in the fall, and both of those guys have an activity level that's appreciated in terms of their motor and how they play the game. They've got a physicality to them, and so that'll be welcomed. especially losing Keelan and Tyler, who two of our most physical players. And so we'll be looking forward to him. I think Bryce has developed his skill set to now he's been an inside guy, but now he's starting to step out and shoot the basketball some, and that'll continue to grow. And then the same with Marquise. And so, those two guys will be certainly welcome additions, and they'll be figuring some things out. Obviously, they're freshmen, so you never know how much. So I don't want to put too much on them too early. Let's let them get adjusted and let them get to college and figure out how to navigate the college schedule first.
Coach, you also have stressed non-conference scheduling here. Home and homes with Florida and Ole Miss. What went into those? And I love the social media too.
Yeah, that was a kudos to John Dedman on the way to go about that one. He was tremendous. I just think challenging yourself. The Big East is so good, John, as you know. And if you're gonna not play a certain level of competition and try to walk into this league and think you're going to be ready, that's going to be tough. And so we want to get as prepared as we can and challenge our guys, so that when we get into conference play, I mean, we finished 9-9 this year, and it took about everything we had to do that. And so we know the rigors of the league, night in, night out, playing on the road. So I think one quality road game like that will help us. We're going to go to St. Louis. We're going to go down to Florida. Those are two tough environments. We'll play in Atlantis, where we'll get challenged, for 3 straight days there, and then bring in a quality SEC opponent like Ole Miss in here, to Hinkle Fieldhouse. Our fans love when we get one of those, preeminent leagues, and one of the opponents from those leagues to come in. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but my biggest thing is I want our guys to be battle-tested heading into conference play. And so as much as we can do that, the better.
Is there a validity to that idea of consistency in your mind? I know as a coach, you got to go into each season, look at it just as that team. But we talk about the Butler way, and I look around the Big East and what they've done over the past couple of years, and you hear people talk, Coach, they say, well, Villanova's going to come back and be very good once again. You guys as well, Xavier, Providence, the 5 straight NCAA tournaments. Can you speak to that? Is there a validity to the idea of, well, yeah, guys may be exiting. Keelan Martin may be heading out, and he will be missed, but there's guys that know how to step up into the next role.
No doubt. No doubt. I think when you look across our league and the success that it's had over the last few years since the new Big East is formed, and I think there was, I don't know what the speculation was or what people thought, as Creighton and us and Xavier, all came into the league. But it is a challenge every night, and I don't think anybody's going anywhere. And there's such a consistency. Like you said, Xavier is a program. There's programs in the league. Creighton is a quality program, and it's not a 1 year. Hey, they're going to be really good, and then they'll fall off. I don't expect that from anybody in the league, and so we're trying to do our part to hold up our end every night.
No question. Do you watch the NBA playoffs? How much have you been watching?
Yeah, I do. I can't stay up for the late night ones, but I've been paying attention. I think LeBron James has been phenomenal at this point. I had to explain to my daughters who Michael Jordan was to tell them this is like the best I've seen since Michael.
Do you debate those, or?
I think it's just their era, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
People throw out the best Butler players of all time, and it depends on when you were here or when you were watching, and everybody has their theirs that they love. And I think it's the same when you start throwing out, Magic versus Michael or Wilt and Kobe and LeBron. It's during that time. And I think during right now, LeBron is it's LeBron and everybody else.
How would you game plan for him?
Pray. Yeah, pray really hard.
The power of prayer.
Their roster is tough because he's throwing fastballs to all the shooters on the perimeter. It's difficult. Yeah, maybe it's like game planning for Villanova in a way. They got so many shooters, but there's not a 6'8", 250-pound guy coming downhill at you. That's a big difference, and so it's a different game. Yeah, I'll leave that up to Brad Stevens. He'll figure that out.
All right, Coach. Well, summer about to arrive. Any besides recruiting, I know you got your 2 daughters, a great family. Any summer activities for the Jordans?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to get to Disney. My 2 oldest have been. We've got a family reunion down in that direction, so we're going to go a couple days early and take my youngest. She's 5. So she doesn't know this yet, so hopefully she doesn't watch the broadcast.
She doesn't watch Shootaround? No, I'm joking.
So that'll be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the look on her face when we get down there, and we'll have a couple days to enjoy it.
Oh, Coach, that's what it's all about. Have fun in Disney. Have a great summer, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, John. Have a great summer.
Thanks to Coach Jordan for joining us to recap his first year at the helm. Let's turn to the Dogs.
Right.
What do you expect from them next season?
Well, headed into the final day of the regular season, Butler could have finished as high as 3rd, but they finished 6th. And I'll tell you what, this year coming, I think LaVall Jordan gets the Bulldogs into the top 5. And you say, what do you mean? They lost Keelan Martin. They lost Tyler Weidman. They are reloading. And in a second year with LaVall Jordan, he's going to get a lot more out of a guy like Aaron Thompson. Kamar Baldwin has been spectacular in his first 2 years. He can really make that leap to a Big East first teamer. I really love the addition he just brought in with Bryce Golden. Talk about a guy who's going to give them a really nice first-year impact player. He's got good size. He's a 4-star. And again, we're going to start to see LaVall Jordan developing talent, which is where he got his reputation at Michigan. You're going to see it next year in Indy.
Well, stability is something that teams in the conference don't have as much of heading into next year because you're going to have guys taking on new roles. But one thing's for sure, Kamar Baldwin's role, he's going to be a star role, but he really built himself into that this past season.
Right.
You pair that up with Aaron Thompson, and for Thompson, the key is developing a 15-footer. He's got to be somewhat of a threat in the jump shooting game. But this is one of the more stable lineups in the league in that, yeah, they lost Keelan Martin, but I think Baldwin, Thompson, Paul Jorgensen, and then Sean McDermott, who could be money in games. You got to try to get something more out of your post players. But for Butler, I think, like a lot in the league, you lose an elite scorer like Keelan Martin.
Of course.
How do you make up for that? Not in scoring necessarily. You've got to be gritty, and that's what the Dogs have harped on.
Well, LaVall Jordan said he wanted up-tempo. I think he got that from his team. He's going to get it even more because with Weidman and Martin out, I think you're going to be able to see a lot more running and gunning from the Bulldogs. I think they're a top 5 team in this league next year.
It's going to be interesting to see what it means to have both the 1, the 2, and Baldwin, Thompson. Then what happens with Jordan Tucker? There's people around Butler that say that he might be able to start by the end of next year, by the time March rolls around. One thing's for certain, LaVall Jordan has options at the positions that it matters most in the guard spots.
All right, off-season shoot-around. We have a lot of fun looking at the clips in the season that just happened. And Ujosh Patel, our editor in particular, guy's a guru. And when it comes to ankle breakers in the Big East, this is what he put together. Roll it. John and I are going to take you through it. You'll see a lot of Jalen Brunson. He broke a lot of ankles.
Oh, the hesitation. No question about that. And then the behind-the-back action. Let's watch this. Andrew Rousey. We saw a lot of people get fooled by him.
And now Rousey on the receiving end from Jalen Brunson.
Oof. Silky, smooth. Mr. Howard, how do you defend that, Jay?
You can't. And on that night, you really couldn't. Kadeem Carrington. How about with the lefty?
Oh, we're going to miss watching this guy in Mikal Bridges. And then, Aaron Thompson on the drive there. I like his potential a lot. We were just talking about him.
And then Baldwin, you'll see a lot of that.
Woo! Brooklyn boy!
That might have been the ankle break of the highlight right there. Najee Marshall, another guy we'll be talking a lot about in the year to come.
He's going to be an exciting sophomore next season for Xavier. More of a leader for this team. More Baldwin. When I just think Kamar Baldwin, I always say it's silky smooth. Oh, a little Cartwright action.
That's the patent move right there, the Cartwright special. I think we've seen Brunson and Baldwin more than any other players in this.
It's also intriguing how many lefties we had. Keelan Martin formed that move in his senior year. Oh!
Good night.
Boy. Those are real, these are players too. Could you imagine us on the defensive end?
Yeah, we'd be on the floor.
Yeah.
And then the drop-off.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Showing why.
Pass off that. Ooh.
Shamori Pons Splitting the D.
What he did this past season shouldn't be legal on a basketball court because at times oh my God.
This is filthy.
I just don't know how. Oh, Ronnie Harrell! Special appearance, Ronnie Harrell! Love that.
Give me more Najee Marshall.
Little Desi Rodriguez.
5-hole.
From the Bronx.
And the finish. Foster the people. Give it to me.
We had fun watching him all season. Then there's more Ponds. Shamari, the Garden. Oh, time and again. Just nasty. The amount of lefties, though. Here's another in Cartwright.
It is remarkable once you watch it, how many lefties we had. Brunson, obviously, the big name lefty. Whew. That was
crazy.
Fun. That was fun.
Crazy stuff.
I'll tell you what. And next year, we saw a lot of those guys that are coming back. Everyone says, oh, Big East, they were a senior league. A lot of those guys coming back. We'll see a lot more ankle breakers in the year to come.
But one guy that had us going, wow. I think back to the Jimmy V Classic against Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And he had the dunk of the season thus far at that point in early December. And then he kept on having dunks and dunks that kept rewriting themselves. Oh, that's the dunk of the year. Oh, that's the dunk of the year. It's Mikal Bridges.
Josh Hart selected in the first round by the Lakers. How cool was that? And what are the things you are looking to work on so you can take that next step a year from now?
Just being aggressive, and the main thing, I just got to play hard every possession, and that's what's going to get me to what I got to do. Obviously, in summer, you work on everything, and even during the school year, you work on everything you got to do. But, you just got to play hard. That's going to get you where you want to be.
See, I come and slice the beat like a master chef. Live life with no fear like I master death. Give strife to those here who want clash with this. My pen writing so clear like I cash a check.
Bridges for three. With a hand in the face, knocks it down.
In the booth I beat, truth to beat. Paul Pierce, instrumentals, Paul Bear to your mental, you defeat. Brain dead numb, let them come one, come all. I don't want to have to ask if you're feeling it.
But Mikal, I think if America didn't know before this week, they found out how special he really was.
Yes. Hey.
What has it been like from your perspective to see his growth?
Well, that's what you really love as a coach. You see a guy reach his potential. He came in a skinny little kid that couldn't even get through practice, really. He get banged around so much. We had to redshirt him, and he just kept getting better. He stayed confident, and it's great support system, mom and dad. And so you really enjoy that as a coach when you see a guy play like that on a stage like this.
Kale, let's go. Get him going. Get the defense going. Let's go.
Heisenberg, cause his product is best. Adrenaline that got your heart jumping out of your chest. Some things should never change cause tradition is best. Like a killer who closed your eyelids out of respect. Might have sounded faded, but jaded he know will never be. Hunger never sated, not if he made it to 70. All that he's created is shaded by distant memory. A long lost love serenaded by this melody. His pen stabbing like a crime of passion. Silent assassin with the blade of the katana slashing. Drawing blood, got the teeth on the piranha gnashing. Not trying to make it to Nirvana in Nirvana fashion.
We always have our backs. I mean, Mikal, he's one bad boy. He's good, man. He's a lottery pick. That's all I gotta say.
That is impressive. His improvement, Bird, is incredible.
Big time play by a big time player.
You said it, Coach. Mikal, it's been a great journey for you at Villanova.
I'm blessed to be, in the spot where the NBA is very, they look for guys like me. I work really hard, so I'm just going to, progress on my game and just try to be the best player I can be by the end of my life.
In the weeks leading up to the NBA draft, we'll have player breakdowns for you. And our first one could be a guy that's a lottery pick in Mikal Bridges.
And I think he will be, John. We've been looking at mock drafts, and we'll continue to as we lead up to the NBA draft. And Mikal Bridges pretty much universally going late lottery, about 8, 9, 10. And when you're drafting a guy in the top 10 and you're an NBA GM, you want a guy who's going to give you longevity, He's going to give you defense immediately, and he can provide offense. Doesn't need to be a game changer offensively. Hope you have some guys on your team already that provide some offense. So as we look at Bridges' stats, he gives you that. He's going to make an immediate impact. Great knockdown three-point shooter. He really added that to his game this year. And defensively, he always had that NBA look to him.
He's always able to guard just about any position. We've seen him take on post players and defend that position. But for me, the biggest game changer that's made him a lottery pick is what you just said, the perimeter game. He can not only catch and shoot, he did some of that throughout his first couple of years. He can create off the dribble. So it makes you think, who would you compare him to, partner?
Here are the criteria. Longevity in the league.
Yes.
Knockdown three-point shooter. And defensively, again, the versatility. I like that word. Versatile defender. He can get you at a lot of different positions.
Drum roll.
Trevor Ariza. It is not the sexiest name, I'll be the first to admit it, but a guy who's been in the league for 14 years, has won an NBA championship, may well win another with the Houston Rockets as a big-time contributor. He brings it every night defensively, like we said with Mikal Bridges, and offensively, he has done enough to stay in the league for 14 years. That says enough.
Let's roll the tape. I think the definition of stability, you just said it.
So this is him under the rim. He's a rim protector at his position. He can make a play, he can block his shot, and that's a play that we saw many times from Mikal Bridges this season. Boom, almost identical under the rim.
And that's against Ishmael Sanogo, who's got a little bit of length on him, but then Kadeem Carrington. And what I look at here is guys that are so comfortable. Marcus Foster is so comfortable making that runner in the lane. But that's NBA-type length that shines out of Bridges, which makes him that lottery-type pick.
And that's really it. That's the word that we're going to key in on with Mikal Bridges, the length. He has the NBA length. The question mark coming into this season was offensively, can he make that leap to the NBA? And I guess what I'll argue and why I like Ariza is Trevor Ariza is not a guy that's scoring 40 points a game in this league. Consistent, can make an open jumper, and you know what? He can create for himself. Let's roll the tape here. It starts on defense. Ariza gets the steal. Boom. Open three. I'm going to take it. I'm going to make it. And we see that from Mikal Bridges plenty of times this season. Grip and rip type shooter.
That's getting through a screen and getting past Kyrie Thomas, one of the best defenders in the conference. And then the hesitation. We talk about high IQ. That's the type of players Villanova produces. Those ball fakes, those pivots, all those little things, NBA scouts, it has them drooling.
So there's good reason that Mikal Bridges will most likely be a lottery and top 10 pick. Now, you'll be curious, Trevor Ariza was a second-round pick. So don't at me, hey, Trevor Ariza, second-round pick, Bridges is going in the top 10. I am saying 14-year career for Trevor Ariza. If an NBA GM was drafting right now, Ariza would go in the top 10 if you know he's going to have a 14-year career.
I don't know why I just did spirit fingers.
I'll take it.
Was that silly?
You're a silly guy. But I think Bridges goes in the top 10. I think he has a very long 14, 15-year career in the NBA. And he's not a flashy guy.
I see what you're saying. I think that this is a guy that has the potential, though, to be a star in the NBA. And Trevor Ariza doesn't stand out as that. But the things Trevor does, those are the types of qualities that Mikal has. I don't think we've seen the best of Mikal Bridges yet. And that is really, really scary to think about.
Well, look at a guy coming into the NBA that we had not seen the best of out of San Diego State, Kawhi Leonard. A guy that had the intangibles, similar to Bridges, with his length, with his ability to score, and obviously defend, which is why he got drafted in the first round. Late, though, and I'll tell you what, he's a guy who played his best basketball in the NBA. If that's Bridges, we could see the ceiling get higher into the all-star category.
5 invitees in total to next week's NBA Draft Combine from the Big East. As we want to thank LaVall Jordan. This was a great breakdown from Jay on Ariza and Bridges. And partner, we just forge ahead here deeper into May. And wow, hard to believe that the NBA Draft just over a month away.
Yep, you're locking into some softball coverage. I'll be watching the mock drafts throughout the week, and hopefully we do a couple of more of these NBA comparison breakdowns and have a lot of fun going into draft time.
That does it for us. What is this?
Oh my, a little throwback to some Big East softball.
A major throwback, and they're expecting rough weather here this weekend.
Will we get you back out?
We'll see. It reminds me, I got to pack my pullover. This is back in, I think it's 2014. Holy cow, was I drenched. That was my bath for the day.
Same glasses?
Same glasses. Oh, no. These are different. No.
Okay.
Yeah, very different. There you go.
Little softball.
Stay dry this weekend. Maybe get out and shoot around yourself.
Sure.
He's Jay Alter. I'm John Fanta. Enjoy the weekend, folks.